Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Airspeed Reads Naruto video. This one's going to be for volume 11 of the manga, which is called Impassioned Efforts. We cover chapters 91 to 99, Make Me Your Disciple, Konoha versus Sand, Impassioned Efforts, each and every one, The Key, A Chance Encounter, The Unexpected Visitor, My Reason for Living, The Proud Failure, and The Finals Commence. And yeah, this is a interesting volume. It's the kind of transition volume from the end of the preliminaries of the final round of the tuning exams to the actual finals themselves. It effectively covers the 1 month gap while they're allowed to train before the finals. And a lot of stuff happens in this volume. A lot of little things to mention here, some big things as well. Obviously, the start of the Jiraiya Naruto relationship, a lot more depth gone into about what Orochimaru's ultimate plan is with regards to the kind of political kind of alliance between the Sound and the Sand to take out the Leaf Village. That comes to light here after, like, I suppose the last couple of volumes were just kind of like, okay, Orochimaru's barely focused on Sasuke, but what's the overall goal here? And this was an important volume to kind of get back to that. We get updates about Lee, foreshadowing stuff about the Third Hokage, and it all just builds up to basically the start of the final round of the tuning exams. The big fights are just about to start. We're just about to start Naruto and Neji at the end of this, so very important stuff in this volume, absolutely. But we start off with Naruto and Jiraiya properly meeting for the first time, and it's pretty interesting. Obviously, Jiraiya his name isn't properly revealed until a little bit later on. But here, it's just this interesting one in that Naruto is basically like, okay, you've just knocked out my teacher, but because you knocked out my teacher, I now want you to be my teacher because you're stronger. And he's given out to Jiraiya for also being a pervert, peeping in on the women's baths and stuff like that. He then reveals that he's the author of Makeout Paradise, and all the Makeout series of books, which is the series of books that Kakashi is always reading. So they don't make that connection here, but it's a pretty cool thing that if you're really looking in closely, you can make that connection. And Jiraiya's initially going to refuse Naruto just because, why am I going to train this random guy? And it takes Naruto using his super secret special technique, ninja centerfold, sexy jutsu, to get Jiraiya to kind of actually train him. And a lot of interesting stuff happens here. The first one, obviously, is Jiraiya kind of telling us about the different seals that are keeping the Nine Tails in. The main one is obviously the tetragram seal. It is a 8-sign seal. And then he mentions that, oh wow, Naruto, the reason that you're having such problems doing this water walking technique is because you actually have a 5-pronged seal over a 8-sign seal, and an odd over an even makes it really difficult to control your chakra. And then Kakashi had already told us before that Naruto just having this seal with the 9 tails makes it hard for him to control chakra anyway, so it's like a kind of double kind of whammy for Naruto here. But Jiraiya quickly gets rid of the 5-pronged seal, and immediately Naruto can do the walk on water technique no problem, which was a pretty cool thing. Just that the only thing holding him back was Orochimaru's seal that he put on Naruto to kind of limit how powerful, I suppose, he could become and how much of a nuisance he could be. Kind of hold him back, basically. Next scene of importance is just that Dosu is very quickly killed. He goes to confront Gaara at nighttime when the moon is out, and Gaara is just freaks out on him. Apparently some sort of a monster comes out of Gaara, and Dosu is just killed. We see his dead body the kind of following morning. But that's not the only person who's killed that same night, in that Baki, I think his name is Baki, yeah? Yeah, Baki, who is the Sand Jonin, basically in charge of the Sand siblings, is meeting with Kabuto, and this is where we first start to find out about the whole alliance between the Sound and the Sand to take out the Leaf. And they meet up, and they find out that Hayate Gecko is actually spying on them, so he's found out about this. We get a brief fight between Gecko and Baki, Gecko specializes in using sword techniques, but he hits Baki, but it doesn't seem to do much. And then Baki just uses this wind blade technique that we don't really see it just yet, but he kills Gecko, and so their plan is still undercover for now. And there's just all this tension building up just before the final stage of the exams, and that Orochimaru is threatening to basically do something if they call off the tuning exam, so they have to go ahead. But they're aware that Orochimaru is up to something, but none of the kind of Jonin and stuff like that know precisely what exactly is happening. Then Jiraiya basically decides, okay, you've got the water walking technique down, so what I'm going to teach you next is summoning jutsu. And I'm going to use this as a way to teach you to control the other chakra that's within you. And he tells, like, us as the audience, kind of through inner dialogue, that like you could become very powerful if you learn to control the Nine Tails chakra. But he just tells Naruto, it's just like, yeah, for some reason you have two chakras, and if you learn to control both of them, you'd be very powerful. So he does that. He helps him kind of learn some of this stuff, and Naruto signs a summoning contract with the Toads, and you get a cool little moment where you see that as Naruto is signing it, next to his signature is the Fourth Hokage's signature, and then next to that is Jiraiya's signature. So they're the last three people to have a summoning contract with the Toads, and so it doesn't quite tell you immediately, but hints at a connection between all three of these characters. Because obviously Jiraiya calls himself the Toad Sage. He's the oldest of them. It's clear that the Fourth Hokage died fairly young. So it hints at some sort of a teacher-student bond between Jiraiya and the Fourth Hokage, and also a connection that they don't go fully into, but that there is more to Naruto and the Fourth Hokage than just Naruto happened to be a baby in or around the time when the Fourth Hokage sealed the Nine Tails away. So that was a really cool little moment to kind of have there. And Naruto tries to use the summoning technique, but only manages to kind of summon a little tadpole type thing, while Jiraiya can summon full-on toads. We do get a little bit of Kakashi Sasuke's training. Kakashi's just randomly climbing a mountain using one hand. He shows us that he can use at least one of the 8 inner gates to kind of help himself up with one hand, and then Sasuke shows up, and this starts off this other little plot with Ino and Sakura going to the hospital because they see Lee outside the hospital. Sakura wanted to bring a flower to Lee to, like, I suppose, help him with his recovery. And Lee is outside, like, all bandaged up, desperately trying to, still fulfill his ninja way, still become a shinobi, do the push-ups and these kind of challenges he sets himself. But it's clear that he's so badly injured he can barely do them. And you just have the nurse, Ino and Sakura just looking on like why are they like this? So, some of like the boys, like, why are they so like this? And you have a little flashback to Sakura learning that Lee may never be a shinobi again. And it's just a nice moment to show a little connection there between Rock Lee and Sakura. They don't refer back to it all that much, but it's just a nice little thing that kind of Lee inspired Sakura very early on in the series to like really focus herself on her ninja training. After that, the next scene of note, I think, is just the Third Hokage starts to come into things a little more. They create a better connection between him and Orochimaru. The Third Hokage says that I suspect that not even I could face him, referring to Orochimaru anymore. And then furthering on that, the next scene and a couple more seem to very much hint at this idea that like everyone is noticing how old the Third Hokage is at this point in time, that his time may be up. There's people mentioning who the Fifth Hokage may be, and how they're going to do that. But Hiruzen obviously is trying to kind of say like, no, I still plan to be Hokage for the next 5 years or so. And there's a nice moment where you kind of have this kind of the like I don't know, like Hiruzen's kind of shinobi way, the way a Hokage should be, the way the Leaf Village kind of teaches its people and the Hokage to be. And we get a nice scene here where Iruka kind of is giving a lesson to the kids, Konohamaru's class, about the Hokages, and then the third shows up, and we get this idea that Iruka is even referring to like Hiruzen's Saratobi's accomplishments in the past tense. You know, he was called the professor. He was the best of the four Hokage during his time and stuff like that. But we do get this idea that the third Hokage gives the kids this advice that no matter what path you choose, never forget to protect those who are precious to you. And you know, he gets all the people to like talk about the people that they want to protect. And then they ask him, and he just says, well, of course my grandson over there, Konohamaru, as well as every single one of you, everyone in this village. And it's this big moment where it's just like that's the core in terms of the way the Leaf Village sees the importance of the people, that the Hokage's job is to protect the people. All of the people in the village are precious to the Hokage, and that's the whole idea. That's why the fourth Hokage sacrificed himself to save the village. And they're kind of hinting that Saratobi may do the same, and all these little hints that his time may be up. The talking about the fifth Hokage and how important it is to protect the village when we know there is a threat from the sand and sound coming in. It really suggests something is bad about to happen. It's really nice foreshadowing. Jiraiya eventually gets frustrated with the training of Naruto. They established that like 3 weeks pass and he still can't summon more than like a tadpole with legs. So he decides that, okay, we have to get you emotional, riled up. That's the only way you're going to be able to harness the Nine-Tails chakra. So he pushes him off a cliff, and in the heat of the moment, Naruto does manage to summon a really large toad, and it's revealed to be Gamabunta. And what I like about this is that, I said that wrong, this does it differently than the anime. In the anime, when he summons Gamabunta, it's like a whole episode where they focus on this idea of like, Gamabunta won't listen at all to Naruto, no respect for Naruto, he won't even believe Naruto summoned him, unless Naruto can like stay on his back and not be like booked off for like a whole day. And Naruto does that, and we get basically the resolution for the manga. But in the manga, it's just, he summons him, they have a little argument about, you know, you couldn't possibly have summoned me, where's Jiraiya? Jiraiya runs off during that time. And then he just finds the summoning contract and eventually reveals it is true. Naruto passes out because he summoned such a large toad on his first time properly using the technique. And he just Gamabunta leaves Naruto, who he's impressed with, at the hospital, setting up the next kind of stage of the story, which again leads to probably one of my like kind of like surprise favorite moments from this manga volume, and it's a scene that didn't necessarily stand out as much to me in the anime as it did here. Maybe it's because I'm analyzing it in depth in videos rather than just watching it, that I'm kind of noticing all these things, but. This scene where Naruto's in the hospital recovering and Shikamaru comes in to see him and brings the fruit basket, and they just have a little joke about Choji. I really like this scene because this is the first time where, like, out of the blue, someone is just coming in to see Naruto and is treating him like a normal person. And it's Shikamaru to do it, which is very important given where their friendship goes, the important role that Shikamaru has in terms of supporting Naruto going forward. And this is a really cool setup for that like obviously we have like Iruka, Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke as like the key early people in Naruto's development, but that the first kind of, you know, people after, you know, the Hinatas, Konohamaru's is Shikamaru to really kind of open up to Naruto in this really cool moment here. It's pretty nice because they just joke around together. Naruto is not in any way like, why have you come to see me? He just immediately is joking around with Shikamaru. And the setup here in the hospital is that Gaara has also come into the hospital to basically finish off Rock Lee, because after killing Dosu, he kind of has this bloodlust. And there's just this setup that like all of these people are in the hospital, that Choji's in one room, like Ino and Sakura are kind of outside, Rock Lee is like in there, Shikamaru and Naruto are there as well, and like who's going to go into whose room to do what. And we end up with this confrontation where basically Rock Lee is unconscious in his bed, they just about stop Gaara from killing him, and there's Shikamaru and Naruto confronting him, and there's some really great stuff that happens in here in terms of learning a lot about Gaara as a character. He mentions that his birth led to the death of his mother, and the way he says it really tells you that like people hate him for that. The fact that he was born but the mother was killed, and people hate him for that. That his father, initially like thought he was great, that he was basically built to be the ultimate shinobi, but he became so powerful, he was so unstable that ever since he was 6 years old, his father has been trying to assassinate him, and everyone has just considered him this kind of crazy person, and the only thing that really kind of confirms to him that he's living, that he truly exists, is to kill. And so you have this great moment where Naruto doesn't just see Gaara as the villain, but he actually relates somewhat to what Gaara is saying, in the sense of he connects to the basic idea of the story. People considering you a monster for something that you kind of aren't, like, you had nothing to do with. Naruto didn't want the Nine Tails inside him. Gaara didn't choose to have the Shukaku implanted in him, as we get here, the Sand Spirit Shukaku, which isn't revealed right now to be a tailed beast. And the whole idea of tailed beasts and there being like one for each amount of tails hasn't been revealed just yet, but it's a cool setup that they compare the idea of them both having monsters inside them, and how Naruto relates to Gaara just because of these feelings. And it doesn't happen just yet, but this idea that if Naruto had taken a darker path in terms of dealing with these issues, he may have ended up like Gaara, like actually hating people, wanting to hurt them, kill them, while Gaara represents the actual dark side of that path. Instead of like focusing on the people who cared about him, his brother and sister, who he doesn't seem to care about, he's focusing more on the people who are against him and is actively killing them as a way to kind of prove that he exists. Whereas for Naruto, it's the bonds with the people who do care about him that is like proof that he exists, and he's like striving to have more people like that. It's a really cool scene as you see Gaara start to freak out. Like these little mentions of things like that come up, and he's really struggling with it, and then eventually I think it's a guy who comes in and stops this whole thing from happening. And it's a cool moment that like you think Gaara is like this super powerful, like more powerful than a lot of the characters met so far, but the fact that he just walks off when Guy kind of threatens him is a pretty cool moment. And yeah, then we just cut to basically the setup for the finals. Naruto has struggled sleeping the previous night, and he's actually quite nervous going into the fight. And it's not until he meets Hinata on his way to the arena that he gains confidence. And this is probably one of my favorite scenes from the entire volume. Just he asks her how she is. You seem to be for the most part back to normal. Not injured anymore. And she talks about how when you cheered me on, Naruto, I felt like I somehow became stronger than before. And when the preliminaries were over, I started to like myself just a little bit more. I feel like I've changed, and a little flashback to her shinobi way being the same as Naruto's, and him being just like, oh cool, I guess I'm an awesome influence. And he's feeling a little down on himself that he might not be able to do as well against Neji, and he says, like, I might seem really strong, but I'm usually just trying to act tough because I'm embarrassed about how I screw up all the time. And Hinata is the one to give him confidence this time. That's not true, and even if you do mess up, if you ask me, you're a proud failure. You're really inspiring to watch because you're not perfect, and because you make mistakes, but you still have the guts to get back up and keep fighting. That's what I consider true strength. I believe you are an incredibly strong person, Naruto. And she just he thanks her and says, I kind of thought you were a bit of a weirdo before, but I realize now that I kind of like people like you. And she kind of blushes. It's the first, like, I suppose, really like important compliment he pays to Hinata, that he initially just thought, she's just a quiet girl, but he realizes that, just because someone's loud doesn't mean they're all that different from someone who's quiet. And he's just like, no, I kind of like people like you, and he's gaining appreciation for her, that when she does say something, it often is quite important. And he has confidence going in here. We see the Kazakage, the Kage of the Sand Village arrive, and he again makes a reference to the fact that Saratobi is quite old in age, and when you're going to name your successor, and just a little bit of tension being developed here. And we also get this idea that after Gaara, at some point in the past, Gaara went to see Kakashi and Sasuke training, and there's the implication that perhaps he killed both of them, or maybe just Sasuke, and that like no one has seen them in a while. But primarily it's just the setup for this. Kiba and Hinata are both confident Naruto can actually do something quite well against Neji, as you know, Naruto just pledges once again to Neji, you know, like, I vow to win, referencing the kind of blood oath basically he made to Hinata to win. Yeah, just to set up that Hiyashi Hyuga, Hinata's father, is in the crowd with Hanabi saying, you know, like, the Hyuga blood flows thicker in his veins than anyone else's. Watch closely, Hanabi, as the fight basically is just about to start as we end the volume. So yeah, I really cool volume, a lot of nice reveals, cool character moments with like the Shikamaru Naruto scene, the Hinata Naruto scene, being introduced to Jiraiya. He's a very fun character, but despite his kind of silly introduction, there's a lot of seriousness in the sense that he knows Naruto is the person who has the Nine Tails within them. He knows the Fourth Hokage, and knows a deeper connection between Naruto and the Fourth Hokage that we are not getting the reveal about just yet. My favorite character from the volume, a bit of a hard one in that we cover just a little bit with everyone. I guess I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Gaara. I actually think the importance of that scene in the hospital, and Gaara just talking about like what drives him at this point in time, and how similar he ultimately is to Naruto, but just that he took a different path to Naruto, focusing on the negatives more so than the positives. I felt I really got to know the character a lot more just because of this volume, and I think he definitely deserves to be the most interesting character from this volume, absolutely. My favorite quote is one I actually already read out. It's Hinata giving Naruto confidence. If you ask me, you're a proud failure. You're really inspiring to watch because you're not perfect and because you make mistakes, but you still have the guts to get back up and keep fighting. That's what I consider true strength. And I believe you're an incredibly strong person, Naruto. I just really like that, in that Hinata is like one of the few people who like truly understands like Naruto as a character, as a person, and what drives him at a base level, and I really like that. Favorite panel of art is this one. Just as Naruto succeeds with his summoning jutsu, he summons Gamabunta. Really cool panel showing the scale of Gamabunta compared to Naruto, compared to the huge canyon he was just tossed into. So really impressive stuff there. But yeah, that has been the end of the volume. I will probably try and get the volume 12 review out at the weekend or something like that. We'll see how it goes, like Star Wars Rebels finale and stuff like that this week to cover. But yeah, other than that, in the comments let me know what your thoughts were on the volume and the review. But thanks for watching, and bye.